Hi, I'm Dave Hazlebeck, CEO of Global Algae Innovations. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this important discussion. In this presentation, we will look at algae solutions to global dilemmas and focus on three in particular: carbon dioxide mitigation, deforestation, and the water-food energy nexus. But before we jump into these, I'll give you a brief introduction to Global Algae Innovations and why we believe algae is the solution to so many global dilemmas. The title of this talk is also the purpose of our company: Algae Solutions to Global Dilemmas. Our vision is to harness the unparalleled productivity of algae to provide food and fuel for the world, dramatically improving the environment, economy, and quality of life for all people. Global Algae Innovations was founded 6.5 years ago, and because our target is global impact, we are looking at algae for commodities: feed, food, fuel, and polymers. Our goals could not be achieved by incremental changes or even a couple of breakthroughs in the algae production process. We need order of magnitude reduction in costs and even more in energy use. So to date, all of our focus has been research and development on radical advances throughout the entire process to achieve these very challenging cost and energy use targets. This past year, we achieved the final breakthroughs needed to project economic viability for commodities. So now we are working on a 20 times scale up from our current 8-acre farm to a 160-acre farm. This is an aerial photograph of our algae R&D farm. As I just mentioned, there are about 8 acres of open raceways, and the largest is a little over 3 acres. Initially, we developed and implemented a carbon dioxide capture and delivery system that provided flue gas carbon dioxide for about $20 a ton. We operated using that system for the first 5 years, taking a slipstream of flue gas from the adjacent power plant to provide the carbon dioxide needed for algae cultivation. In the past year, we've developed a direct air capture system where we capture carbon dioxide directly from the atmosphere. This system is less expensive and untethers algae from fixed carbon dioxide sources. So we've moved to this method as our primary approach for carbon dioxide supply for R&D at the farm. Algae is the solution to so many global dilemmas because it offers unprecedented gains in productivity for agriculture. Looking at the chart, the y-axis is protein yield in metric tons per hectare per year, and the x-axis is oil yield in gallons of gasoline equivalent per acre per year. All conventional and non-conventional crops fall in the lower left quadrant, with modest oil productivity and very low protein yield. The demonstrated productivity for algae, illustrated by the green points, is in a totally different realm from other crops. And algae is a nascent industry, so we're just getting started on things like breeding and other techniques. So the potential of algae is even greater, as illustrated by the red point in the upper right-hand quadrant. For perspective, the green revolution in agriculture, fertilizer, pesticides, GMO crops, intensive farming techniques that saved the world from starvation in the last 50 years was a 2.3-fold improvement in yield. Algae offers a 40-fold improvement in protein productivity and a 5-fold improvement in oil productivity, with the potential for even greater yields. The impact of this level of productivity is amazing. So for the rest of this presentation, we will look at 3 of them: climate, deforestation, and water. We'll start with carbon dioxide mitigation. In order for algae production to happen worldwide, we need direct air capture to remove the tether to fossil carbon dioxide. This plot provides a comparison of cultivation using our direct air capture system to cultivation with flue gas carbon dioxide added. The y-axis is productivity in grams per meter square per day, and the x-axis is time in days. The raceway with direct air capture achieves the same productivity as the control where flue gas carbon dioxide is added. This illustrates that large-scale algae facilities no longer need to be located adjacent to carbon dioxide sources. Algae production is essential to meeting our climate change goals. Producing a large fraction of our animal feed and biofuel from algae would mitigate about 13 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year. For animal feed, algae achieves a 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So producing 32% of our agricultural output for protein from algae would mitigate about a gigaton of carbon dioxide. The co-product oil produced with this protein would provide about 200 billion gallons of fuel per year, or about 20% of the global demand. Algae achieves a 94% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions for fuel, so this would mitigate another 2 gigatons. Even larger CO2 mitigation comes from using algae protein for animal feed and vegetable oil because it will stop and reverse deforestation. Almost every IPCC scenario to achieve our climate change goals relies on stopping and reversing deforestation. Until now, there was no practical way to achieve this outcome. Algae feed production provides the path to actually achieve the goal of stopping and reversing deforestation, and thus algae is indispensable if we are to achieve our climate change goals. The reductions noted are based on life cycle analysis of global algae's cultivation systems. Several references are also included to peer-reviewed papers that have come to the same conclusion. Algae for animal feed is pivotal in achieving our climate change goals. Let's look at two land use examples. Protein production is the primary cause of deforestation in the Amazon, either for soy or for ranching that has been displaced from non-rainforest land by soy. Over 100 million hectares of the Amazon have been lost. But income from this protein production is very important. So despite major efforts to slow the rate of deforestation, it's actually been increasing in recent years. Building 400 algae farms could solve this problem, enabling restoration of all of the Amazon rainforest while producing more protein, generating more income, and creating high-quality jobs for Brazil and other South American countries. This is possible because algae is so much more productive than other crops. The chart illustrates the land required to produce protein from different sources. The units are meters squared of land required to produce 1 kilogram of protein. What becomes immediately obvious is that algae is in a whole different order of magnitude from other plants and animals. And this is why building algae farms could lead to the restoration of the entire Amazon rainforest. In Southeast Asia, palm oil is the primary cause of deforestation. Palm oil is the most commonly produced oil in the world because it has the highest productivity and lowest cost. As a result, over 18 million hectares have been deforested. Demand is expected to quadruple, so rainforest destruction in Southeast Asia will quickly become on par with destruction of the Amazon. On the other hand, palm plantations have been important in eradicating poverty and enabling education, so there's no easy answer to slow this deforestation. The chart illustrates that palm oil is 5 times more productive than other land plants for vegetable oil. However, algae is 25 times more productive than other land plants and 5 times more productive than palm, so algae could be the solution. How could algae be used to restore the rainforest in Southeast Asia? Oil palms have a limited lifespan of about 25 years before they need to be replanted. Since much of the boom in oil palm began earlier this century, these plantations will begin to need to be replanted in the next 5 or 6 years. If algae were installed to replace palm plantations as they reach their lifespan, we could restore the rainforest over the next 25 years through the natural cycle of palm plantation replacement. Algae would provide more vegetable oil to meet the growing demand and generate more income. Algae farms would also create high-quality rural jobs, so as the populace becomes more educated, they have local high-paying jobs. And since high-quality protein meal would be produced along with the oil, the protein meal could be used to support a large sustainable aquaculture industry, further improving the local economies. Aquaculture is already a major industry in Southeast Asia, and FAO estimates the demand for aquaculture is going to triple. So this is an ideal use of the protein co-product. Finally, let's look at water use. Agriculture accounts for 70% of our water withdrawals, and agricultural runoff is a leading cause of global water impairment. As illustrated, water use by crops goes primarily to transpiration to keep the plants cool. Plus, a substantial amount of water is lost via percolation into the soil and runoff. Evaporation from algae raceways is typically about 30% higher than transpiration, but algae farms have no losses from percolation or runoff. As a result, the water use per acre for crops and algae is similar. However, algae produce 40 times more protein per acre than other crops, so algae farms use 93% less water for protein production. What does this water savings mean in a practical sense? Let's look at the Colorado River as an example. The historical flow in the river is about 5 trillion gallons of water per year. Of this flow, 4.2 trillion gallons is diverted for agriculture, primarily alfalfa and hay, and the rest is used by industry and households. As a result, the Colorado River did not reach the sea from 1998 until 2014, and now a small amount reaches through purchases of water rights, but it is a tiny fraction of the historical flow. If we build just 8 commercial-scale algae farms to replace alfalfa, then we could leave 2 trillion gallons per year of water in the Colorado River while generating more income, the same amount of protein feed, and freeing up 2 million acres of land. This gives you some idea how transformative algae will be in restoring watersheds and wetlands. In summary, the scale-up for algae commodities is starting, and it needs to happen quickly because algae is the solution for many global dilemmas. Lastly, I'd like to thank the U.S. Department of Defense and especially the U.S. Department of Energy and the BETO algae team for supporting this technology development. Of course, all of the thoughts and conclusions in this presentation are global algae's and should not be interpreted as official positions or policies of the U.S. government. Thank you.